Coming from the farthest reaches of the universe to challenge the worst toy repairs on Earth is the most powerful hero ever, toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we are going to be repairing this vintage Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Warduke figure from LJN. As you can see, he's had a little bit of battle damage in a fight with Strongheart and one of his legs has come off. So let's get on with the project and we'll see how we can reattach this damaged leg. Okay, let me just interject here before the main part of this video starts, because this project didn't go smoothly. Things went wrong along the way. It was incredibly hard to get the first leg off. There is a bit of blood because I did manage to stab myself in the thumb, but I wanted to show you the whole process. Sometimes when you're fixing toys, things don't go to plan, and this is a perfect example of that. In the end, I was able to fix the figure because you can see him here now, but I wanted to show you the whole process. So watch the video, you'll see what goes wrong, but in the end you can see that I did manage to fix it. So here we have a vintage Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Warduke figure made by LJN in 1983, and his leg has broken off. Now this is an incredibly common problem with these figures. The legs are held together with T-bars, and the T-bars tend to perish and snap, and you'll see this. So you can see we've got part of the T-bar left in this leg, and then the rest of it's held onto this leg, and this part has the hook on it which is still held onto the little O-ring inside. Now the O-ring on this figure is in really nice condition, so I don't intend to change that, although I have shown you that before. In fact, I've done a video fixing up a Warduke who was in far worse condition than this, and that was this guy. He had a head broken off, and we've repaired the head using Lego, and the O-ring inside his body had snapped as well, and I showed you how to fix that up. Another very common problem, but the T-bars is probably the more common issue that you have with these figures, and it makes them very cheap to buy. In fact, this figure with all of these weapons, so I got 2 shields and 1 sword, cost me all of £10 on eBay, which for a vintage Warduke figure is a really good price. So don't be put off if these figures are broken, because there are ways to fix them. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to replace the T-bar, and on something like a G.I. Joe figure, the legs are screwed together, so there'll be a screw there. You'd undo that, you could swap the T-bar out. On these figures, they are glued together, so we have to be a bit more brutal. Luckily though, on this size of figure, the T-bar that you need is the same as a G.I. Joe figure, so you can buy replacement T-bars on eBay. I have a big bag of them because I'm always fixing those figures, so this is just a replacement T-bar. So let's get on with opening up these legs and removing the remnants of the old T-bar and swapping the new one in. It's fairly brutal, but you can do it.
Toy-polloi, that is incorrect. Try again.
Before we replace the T-bar, we actually need to unhook this leg, and as I said, the O-ring on this figure is in really nice condition. I can actually see it's still got the original sort of powder on it that it would have had when it came out of the factory. There doesn't appear to be any sort of stretch marks or splits or anything in that band, so I want to keep that. You can replace these, as I've shown, just using some elastic, but if we can keep the original, we might as well do it. So I have some wire here. I'm just going to thread that through the O-ring there, just so I've got something to hold on to. And then I can pull this leg out, and I should be able to then just unhook the original T-bar that's broken. This may be a little bit tricky just because sometimes these things get a bit stuck, but I reckon I can unhook that. Just got a screwdriver there. Might even need a pair of pliers just to hold on to that T-bar a little bit more firmly. Let me get a pair of pliers and we'll try it with that. So I've now got a pair of pliers. That gives me a little bit more purchase, so I can just grab onto that and twist it round. There we go. Now that is unhooked, but I haven't lost the O-ring. That is on the piece of wire there. So I can put that figure to one side, and when we come to put this together, I can just pull the wire out, and you can see that I have access to that O-ring. Now we come on to removing the remnants of this T-bar, and there's no sort of easy way to do this. It is a bit brutal. You'll need a knife, and you have to split the top part of the leg. Now I have shown this on some other figures, and some of the other figures have a more sort of softer plastic. Warduke's plastic feels pretty solid, so it may be a little bit more tricky to do, which is why I wanted to show it in a separate video. The plastic on some of the figures is just a little bit on the rubbery side. This is really solid, so it may split a bit, but unfortunately that you just have to put up with any of the splits. We'll repair those at the end. So let's try and split this apart so that we can remove the remnants of that T-bar. I have a knife here, and I'm basically just going to push it onto the join. You can see there's an obvious join where 2 pieces of plastic have been glued together, and that hopefully will be the weak point. So if I just move the end of that T-bar out the way, I'll get my knife, push it in, and we should be able to sort of split this apart. See, that split particularly easily. It wasn't glued particularly strongly, so hopefully if I put that in the end, Yeah, you can see it splits along the line. We've got a slight white stress mark there where it's splitting, but that's what we need. Once we've split it a bit more, we can then get the screwdriver in and start to remove this old T-bar. But that's split pretty easily actually. Okay, so that's now split enough. Hopefully I can get this in here and we can start pulling this little post out. Yeah, that's going to work. So I might get some new tools, just something with slightly more of a point to it so I can push that in there. But yeah, I think that is going to come out pretty well. Okay, so this is actually proving a lot trickier than the other figures that I've fixed, just because this plastic is harder. I don't want to sort of push it too far and break it, so I'm going to try something different today. I've got my little drill here with a drill bit in it, which is 2mm in diameter. I'm going to try and drill out some of the sort of remaining part of the T-bar. The balls on the end of the T-bar for a G.I. Joe figure are fairly small, you can see that, and the ones on this one are a lot larger, possibly almost sort of half the diameter again, and that's making it more tricky to get them out. So let's try and drill away some of this and we'll see if that helps. It probably will make quite a big difference, and the metal used is very soft, so a small drill bit like this should make light work of it. So let's try and drill a bit of that out, see what happens. Okay, that is making quite a big difference. I'm going to see if I can turn that post around now, and then we'll try drilling on a second side of it and see if that makes a difference. But that's certainly working. Right, well this is proving far trickier than I'd expected, but that's what makes toy repair so fun, because sometimes you try things and you think it's going to work because you've done it before, and then it just doesn't. So yeah, this is not coming out as easy as I'd hoped, and it is because this plastic is a lot firmer than the other stuff on the figures that I've fixed before. So the next thing to try is the boil and pop method. I'm going to boil up the kettle and then put this into some just boiled water. Hopefully that will soften the plastic and that will enable me to get this old T-bar out. So let's try that. So here's a cup full of just boiled water. I'm going to put that in there to warm it up. While I'm doing that, I might as well sort out this sword as well, which you can see has got a bit of a bend to it. So we'll warm that one up as well and see if we can straighten the sword. Hopefully this will fix both issues. And there we go, finally got it out. That was a real pain actually. It's just not an easy thing to do, and certainly on this type of plastic, really pretty hard work, but it is out. So before I do anything else, let's find that other T-bar, because I want to do that while the plastic is still a little bit on the warm side, because I think it will be a bit easier. So let's just open that up again. Got my screwdriver here just to gently open those two pieces of plastic, And let's push that T-bar in. Like that, and get it in place. Phew, we can do the repairs on that a bit later. So now we've got to do the whole thing again on the other leg, and I'm guessing it's going to be just as awkward because this has been a particularly awkward leg to get apart. So here is the second leg, and as that first leg proved so tricky, I'm just going to try the same thing again and we'll see what happens. There's some things I learnt that didn't work, so I don't think I'll bother trying to drill out the old T-bar, but I'm just going to sort of try again and see what happens. The plastic on this one feels different again. It's possibly a bit more brittle, but yeah, we'll just have to give it a go. So yeah, let's just try and get this old T-bar out. And there we go, got it out. That was actually much easier this time. I've learned a bit of a technique. So yeah, a couple of screwdrivers and a bit of twisting, I managed to pull that one out. So let's get the replacement one popped back in, and then we can repair any damage. Because of the sort of twisting and forcing of these plastic bits apart, we have ended up with some slight gaps at the top of the legs. It's not particularly noticeable, but I'd like to try and fix that. You can see on the back it's a little bit more because that's actually where I was putting the screwdriver in. So what I'm going to do is fill those just using some super glue and some baking powder. I've got some baking powder here in a pot, got super glue here, and I'm going to very carefully apply it with my pin tool. So what I do is put some super glue onto a bit of paper like that, get some of it onto the end of the pin, and then carefully place it into the gap, just using capillary action to pull the super glue in place. Once I've got a bit of that glue in, I'm then going to sprinkle over the baking powder, and that turns absolutely rock solid. We can then file that down and sand it and shape it and hopefully fill this little gap here. And then if it's noticeable, I will put a bit of paint on it, but it may be that it actually just sort of disappears. And here we go, there are the legs now with the super glue and a bit of baking powder in there just to fill the gap. I'm pretty happy with how those look. I have given them a very light sand with some 1000 grit sandpaper just to take the sort of excess off. But yeah, the overall effect on that is really nice. It'd be hard to actually spot that those have been repaired. So now we can put these legs back onto Warduke. We've got the bit of wire here on the O-ring, so all I should have to do is to pull that out and then somehow hook this in. Sometimes these things are easier to do when the camera isn't in the way, but I think I should be able to do this. Let's just pop that in there. There we go, that is now hooked in. So if I very carefully remove this piece of wire, let's just bend that out of the way. And then we can hook his legs back under, like so. And there we go, we now have Warduke with his legs reattached. So there we go, that is it for this video. As you can see, the figure is all fixed up and ready to go back on display, but it didn't go as smoothly as I'd hoped. The whole process was a little bit more fiddly and a little bit more awkward than I was expecting, and certainly getting that first leg off didn't go as easily as I'd hoped, but in the end I did manage to remove it, and getting the second leg off and repaired was a whole lot easier once I'd worked out what the process was. I just thought it would be fun to show you everything that goes on while repairing a toy. Sometimes things don't go smoothly, and that's what happened with this figure, but in the end I did manage to get it all fixed up. So I'm hoping that you have actually learned something with me showing you all that goes on. My thumb is okay, I did cut it halfway through the video, but as you can see, it's not too badly hurt. Hopefully you have enjoyed this project. If you have, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And if you've really enjoyed it and want to help me out here at toy-polloi, then why not think about becoming a Patreon? You get early access to all of my restoration videos and also access to an exclusive video series called On the Cutting Mat, where I'll show you projects that you won't be seeing anywhere else. So have a think about that, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.